Now I'm at the point you wanna be with me. I'm vibing out at a higher frequency, cause everything that I want and I'm gonna be, it's when I wake up, that's when I start to dream. Someone you love is talking down, here is the plan. Let it fall through like a handful of sand. Nothing happens overnight, what you must understand. If you dwell on the bad, then you don't stand a chance. Something you want upset, saying why it ain't mine yet. That's because now you have yet to change your mindset. People don't put their mind to rest while they're so wired. A lot of people go to sleep and wake up tired. Power of positivity and persistence. Say that I can, we'll just sit back and witness. Make an impact when our time is done. Make money, help people, and have lots of fun. Whoa.
Welcome to Office Hours, hosted by legendary sports executive, entrepreneur, and investor David Meltzer, where the brightest entrepreneurial minds in business, sports, and entertainment get together to talk about success, failure, and everything in between.
I have no self-worth tied up in Gary Vee or Gary Vaynerchuk, the entrepreneur. My self-worth is fully and utterly 100% attached to how I treat human beings.
I think love is the answer to everything as well. Love and compassion and justice and fairness, and which are all aspects of love.
The most important question anybody can ask is, what would I do and love every day, even if I were failing?
Take a deep dive into the mind of some of the world's most impactful guests.
And the reality is, life here on Earth is very short compared to eternity, and we don't spend a lot of time thinking about eternity and what that looks like.
People get new computers, they get the new iPhones, they upgrade their apps. But when's the last time we upgraded, the technology that's created all of these things?
So I always challenge my audience and people I talk to about, sometimes is there a door in your life you have to close for other doors to open?
To share their strategies and tools to dominate their respective fields.
When we repeat anything, whether it's a constructive good pattern or a destructive bad pattern, our brain reinforces it just like a muscle.
All a belief is a story that you've said over and over again. Maybe you caught it from someone else or you had a specific experience.
Know who you are, know what you want, and make adjustments trying to get there.
David Meltzer hosts Office Hours.
Hey, Nick, come on here. All right,
beautiful.
Happy 4th of July, everyone.
No problemo. I will go ahead and set the room.
Nick
and then
gonna
I'll
run
patch his
Clubhouse
audio
through
through here for the training itself. But happy 4th of July and happy Friday to everybody. Of course, we are here for another edition of David's Free Friday.
Here we go. Happy 4th of July, everyone. We got Nick on the other line. I don't know, is it running through StreamYard? I'm gonna need to bring Mike on to help me real quick. Mike, what's going on? Help me out. I can't hear you on StreamYard. Mike. Thank you for your patience, everyone. We'll start training in a minute. Trust me. Hold on, we got Nick.
Alrighty, David, we had just set the room here live on Clubhouse, and we are ready to get started with this training. I'm going to patch in your audio to Clubhouse. So feel free, just keep doing what you're doing, and I will take care of the rest.
All right, I'm going to go ahead and invite people, though, on Clubhouse, and anyone else on all the other platforms will be good. Can you hear me okay, Nick?
Yep, you are good to go.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much. Makes it easy on me. Today's training, happy 4th of July, everyone. You went through the rundown of the 10 cities we're going to be in 14 days. But today's training is trusting the process. And believe it or not, when we declared our freedom in 1776, it was trusting the process. And today we celebrate the signing of the Declaration of Independence. It marks July 4, 1776, as I mentioned, as the day our founding fathers declared our freedom as a nation. What's interesting is that it wasn't until 1783, 7 years later, that our nation actually experienced freedom. There were battles raging, but the people were celebrating their decision to fight for freedom. They declared their freedom first. Then they stood their ground and trusted the process until they had the victory to live as free men and women here in the United States of America. There may be some opposing forces that are fighting you today, things that you want to get free from. Freedom from addiction, freedom from anxiety, freedom from scarcity or lack, a freedom from fear or the reaction to it. No matter what battle you are facing, you must trust the process. Let this be the day you declare your freedom and trust the process, because victory is on the way. You may have to stand and press through for a little while because things happen slowly, then all of a sudden. But know that freedom is yours today and the day you declare it. Let freedom ring loudly in your life and embrace the freedom to pursue your potential and trust the process. We must trust the process at all times. And in life and in business and in leadership, we often want to have the answers before we declare our freedom. We want to have the answers before we act. But the truth is, the most meaningful growth that happens when we move forward despite uncertainty, not because we've eliminated. This training is about reframing how we see delays, detours, and doubts, not as distractions from the path, but part of it. We explore how faith and wisdom, trust and surrender, the disposition of surrender, the predisposition, I apologize, of surrender, not the disposition, can become practical tools for making decisions, leading teams, and living greater peace and purpose with freedom. You don't need all the answers to keep moving. You just need to trust the process. The wisdom of faith in uncertainty. Most of our lives, we live in a realm of no evidence or evidence that's contrary to where we want to be. We often want immediate resolution, the resolution, which means the solution is within the problem. It's just a lapse of time before we see the solution in the problem. This is why it's called resolution, resolution. And we often want that immediate clarity, control, and results, but life rarely delivers them on demand. The real strength lies in choosing faith over your reaction to fear, the need to be right, the need to be offended, the need to be separate, inferior, superior, anxious, frustrated, angry, guilty, resentful, worried, especially when there's no evidence or the evidence is contrary to where you want to be or better. And certainly the outcome is uncertain and unclear. I work with so many young entrepreneurs and they lose a key investor and they panic. only to later discover that the delay, the lapse of time between the problem and the solution, led to a more aligned partner and a greater long-term success. We need to trust the process. You do not realize at the moment what I am doing, but later you will understand. Trusting the process is trusting a performance. It is is itself a performance tool, not just a spiritual idea. Faith is a performance tool as well, not just a spiritual deal. Reflection on the past setbacks, failures, mistakes, challenges, voids, shortages, obstacles, defining moments, historical relevances, and even our successes, the meaning as we reflect on those past incidences makes today the ability to trust the process as things don't make sense at the time, but the revelation of that lesson is utilized in hindsight only if we align the meaning of that past with where we think we want to be in the future. It is helpful as we trust the process to identify one current situation when we feel where you're being called to trust. We are called to faith. We are called to trust the process. And as we know, things happen very slowly with no evidence and evidence that's contrary to where we want to be. And then all of a sudden, if and only if we trust the process. The power of trusting the process is that when we don't understand the why behind our struggles, as we are daily tempted to give up, trusting the process keeps us in the game long enough to have resolution that creates the breakthroughs to arrive where we want to be or better. So many startup founders that I work with endure so many failed attempts, pitches, sales, all types of different cold calling. But before landing their dream prospect, each and every no shaped the clarity of the eventual yes. That's where I came up with the 25 no rule, which is a shift in my perspective of no. And the idea of the 24 no rule is that as I am prospecting, every no I get, I'm closer to a yes. I know that on average, with the bigger things, the more important things, the prioritized things that are aligned with my personal experiential giving and receiving prospect or pursuit, the bigger the things on average take 25 no's before I get to a yes. Therefore, when most people are discouraged and want to quit, I'm more fired up, excited, and certain that it's going to happen. And so I want everyone, and if you'd like that guide or exercise for the 25 no rule, I will be happy to send that to you, as well as this training, Trusting the Process. The truth and freedom is trusting the process. And so just email me if you'd like that guide for the 25 no rule. I promise it will change your life. But as we look to see in uncertainty, trusting the process will keep us there and give us a new relationship to know. It is wisdom and faith and persistence that are the aggressive, ferocious way of going about it. That's why I said that the predisposition of surrender is a mindset of trusting the process. Surrendering doesn't mean sitting at home high on your mom's couch, sits broke and dreaming about what you want without any activity. You aren't passive when you are trusting the process. You are more active, more ferocious, more persistent. This is the proactive form of resilience, to have faith and trust in the process. Even though we get no's, even though there's no evidence, or even if there's no indication that we're going to get to where we are going to get, or better. And that's why it's or better, because we don't know what we don't know. And so when we have experiences of evidence contrary, we know that something better is coming. We just don't understand or know it yet. We need a resolution and a revelation. If we can remember, and recollect about past experiences where we have trusted the process and things have revealed, or there was resolution, the resolution was better than we anticipated, we can help to instill more faith during the confusing or painful moments as we look towards the past and the meaning of the past, to give us the confidence, the faith, the trust that this is once again just a stepping stone. I have a 1,000-step philosophy that I utilize with the bigger things in my life, even though they're true in the smaller things as well. And it's that everything that I desire, every big thing that I desire in my life, I know it will take 1,000 steps to get there. I remind myself by looking at the stories from my past and shifting the meaning of my past into the 1,000 steps, that it takes 90% of the effort, 90% of the money, time, value, and emotion, 90% of everything I got just to get me to 250 steps. And that's because each of those steps are different. Some are bigger, some are smaller, some are slippery, some are dirty, some are broken, some have corrupted, whatever it is. But it will take me, for the bigger things that I desire, those are the only ones worth my time to focus in on, it will take me 1,000 steps to get there. Sometimes I have to take 2 steps back to get to 5 steps forward. But in the philosophy of the 1,000 steps with the bigger things that I desire, I realize that this is an exponential climb. And so although it takes 90% of the time, emotion, value, and energy, effort to get me to 250 steps, and at that point, there isn't going to be much evidence that I'm going to get to the other 750 steps, because it took me 90% of everything I had just to get to 250 of them. But the exponentiality, what got me there was the doubling effect of the behaviors and the trust in the process. And as I continue to trust the process, even though it took me 90% of everything I got to get to 250 steps, as I'm learning through gratitude, forgiveness, and accountability, I know that it's just a matter of another 5%. So now 95% of the effort gets me to 500 steps. And then it is that final 5% of the effort, when I'm at 100% of my effort, time, emotion, value, and money, that it doubles again and gets me all the way there. You can imagine how much we have to trust the process if that's how we get to where we want to be or better. If there is 1,000 steps and we know that 90% of the effort, time, emotion, and value, everything we have, that it will take us to get to 1,000 steps. Practice identifying the lessons of your past. Give meaning to those lessons when you are experiencing discomfort in your presence and you doubt or lack or don't trust the process. You can utilize the past and the meaning of the past to get you to where you want to be or better. Embrace the uncertainty with faith. Uncertainty is where growth will happen, and uncertainty is in the circumstances of every day beyond the guarantee that we have of 24 hours. We can rely on the fact that unless it's the last day of our life, we have 24 hours each and every day to get to where we want to be or better. But it is the uncertainty that we experience the growth. Only when we stop resisting the uncertainty. So many leaders that I work with launch products, solutions, services, and brands, as you were talking about today, without any perfection or clarity in the market, but with an application of why, with a purpose and thoughts about purpose and adaptability. They see traction from the unexpected, from the uncertain, and they experience the growth, the acceleration, the aggregation, and the compounding effect of the 1,000 steps. Remember, when we embrace uncertainty with faith, faith isn't sitting still. Faith itself, as wisdom, is moving forward without needing all the answers. Faith will allow you to move forward without any answers, let alone all the answers. Go ahead and put attention and intention on the uncertainty that you feel is holding you back. Commit to bold actions within the context of the 5 daily practices, which I'm also happy to send you, to know our what, to make that nothingness, that resistance a possibility, to know our who can we help and who can help us, to make it a probability, know how by utilizing time in productive, accessible, and gracious ways to make it a perspective, and know your now and know your next. Trust the outcome to unfold in time, to reveal itself, to resolve itself. Trust the outcome, know your now, know your next, and apply your why. These 5 daily practices will help to dissipate the uncertainty that's holding you back. The next lesson is to learn how to have a predisposition to surrender. A predisposition to surrender. In that predisposition, people cling to control, which narrows our vision and exhausts or interferes with our energy. Letting this go as a predisposition before you take action, before you're ferocious, before you are aggressive, letting go will expand the possibilities, probabilities, and perspective to allow you to prioritize, reprioritize, pre-prioritize your now and your next, to apply your why. Stop searching for it. It's already there. What are you doing to interfere with it? And to have a predisposition of surrender allows us to expand through the process. So many executives that I work with, they micromanage every detail, creating interference between them and their team, their customers, their vendors, and their success. It interferes with the energy, inspiration, intuition, and intelligence of the collective consciousness, their team, and themselves. When they have a predisposition to release that control of micromanagement and take a predisposition into surrender, the trust of the process builds and performance rises. Surrender is a predisposition. It's not giving up. It's giving space. I'm going to repeat that, and you may see that on Threads, but surrender is not giving up. It's giving space. And if we can identify areas where we are micromanaging, over-controlling, overthinking, over-logicking, over-analyzing, where we're interfering with our potential, our growth, and block it. We need to shift our mindset from what can I control to what can I let go, and still move forward with intention of doing, saying, thinking, feeling, and believing. This is how we trust the process. The next lesson is applying it to the areas of our business, our leadership, and our life. The principles of trust and faith and patience and long-term vision, the process and the principles involved in trusting the process apply to every area of your life, from the boardrooms to your personal relationships. So many businesses face delays in every quarter. Rather than abandoning your strategies, founders need to have and lean into the long-term process, which yields breakthroughs that they never dreamed of. We need to trust the process to allow the lessons to reveal themselves, the solutions to become resolutions, and allow ourselves to lean into our long-term vision of where we think we want to be, or better. especially with the acceleration that technology has put on our businesses, we know that we don't know what we don't know. We know that we are in a direction, a trajectory. I call it a divine direction because the divinity lies within the faith and the trust of the process. And so we are not looking for linear growth anymore, and neither are we looking for understanding. We're looking at behaviors and the constant evaluation and reevaluation of good behaviors that align with where we want to be or think we want to be, and analyzing the bad behaviors that are interfering with it. In business, share your long-term vision with everyone, your team, your vendors, your associates, your partners, and remind them that the process in the trust in that includes setbacks. It's 1,000 steps. Share the 1,000 steps so that everybody knows how success will reveal itself. In leadership, we want to model the trust of the process during uncertainty, especially because it becomes contagious. It also aggregates, accelerates, and compounds. It has inspiration, intuition, and intellect included in it as we dissipate, dissolve, and disappear the interference. Model the 1,000 steps during uncertainty and allow it become viral, contagious with everyone that you meet. And then finally, in our relationships, in our life, make the commitment to the enjoyment of the consistent, everyday, persistent, without quit pursuit of your potential in the 1,000 steps that build long-term trust and connection. Remember, credibility is the most powerful thing in a relationship. If we are 100% credible, which very rarely, if ever, you could ever meet, if you're 100% credible, everyone that you're relative to will do everything that you ask and will believe everything you think, say, do, and feel. So we should be on a pursuit to build long-term trust through credibility and connection. The next lesson is to trust the process with intention. Clarity often comes last. I'm going to repeat that. Clarity often comes last, but so many people think it's first. And in this relativity and meaning lies the problem with people who can't trust the process, then get impatient or utilize their ego to edge that growth out of their life, the gold and the goodness and God out of their life, by thinking that clarity comes first, but it often comes last. Let trust give us the strength to keep going long enough to receive it. In my own life, there's so many examples, but the one that I lean on the most is when I lost everything. Over $100 million went bankrupt, including my mom's house. I could not imagine how in any world that this would be a positive, protecting, promoting, and perfecting opportunity in my life. I felt as if at the time I was being punished by God. I lost my faith in God and in me. I felt like I was being punished for no reason, no meaning I could give to it. I'm sure Steve Jobs, when he got fired from Apple, felt the same way about his entire journey being worthless. But taking minutes and moments in that reaction, in that perspective, and going back into the values, daily practices, and executing on those, it is the setback, the failure, the mistake, the defining moment, the historical relevances of that defining moment that led to a greater ability to apply my why and identify what I was doing to interfere with my why. What was I doing breathing wise, eating wise, sleeping wise, drinking wise, movement wise? What was I doing with the voices around me, knowing that I had surrounded myself, as Steve Jobs had, with the wrong voices. And if you surround yourself with the wrong voices, you're going to make the wrong choices. And those voices were not only outside of me, but they were inside of me. And making the shift to the right choices was listening to the right voices that were aligned with the 1,000 steps, aligned with my values, aligned with my behaviors, aligned with the execution on those behaviors in a consistent, persistent pursuit of my potential. I use the reminder, the mantra, later you will understand. To me, it's such a comforting phrase or mantra. Later you will understand. Revelation and resolution are never comes first, and clarity doesn't come first. It comes later. Trust the process. It's a framework of courage, of a courageous life, of an application of why. To trust the process is to utilize wisdom to strengthen your faith, to allow the 1,000 steps to reveal. We need to embrace uncertainty as a necessary part of growth. We need to learn to love the uncertainty and stay consistent in the behaviors aligned with where we want to be or better, and not quit, utilizing the persistency that is integrated into trusting the process in order to pursue our potential, even though there's no evidence that we're going to be where we want to be or better. We need to not only embrace uncertainty, but we have to choose faith in the absence of clarity, in the absence of certainty. We have to have the 1,000 steps in the bigger things in our lives to move forward today with your future self. And your future self will thank you. My favorite quote is, be kind to your future self and do good deeds. Just in the respect of good deeds is a trust of the process. When we see not only who we can help get to where they want to be or better, but find those that can help us get to where we want to be or better, and ask for help. Trusting the process is not blind faith. It's about an intelligent surrender, a predisposition of surrender, of intuition, intelligence, inspiration. It is not blind faith. There is more ferocious intention of doing, saying, thinking, feeling, and believing about the thoughts about our purpose that allows us to create what we desire or better in our lives. Trusting the process is about choosing purpose over panic, progress over perfection. Every obstacle today, every delay today, every detour today is an indication it might be a part of something bigger being built with you, not against you. What seems unclear today often becomes the defining clarity of tomorrow. Whether you're leaving a team through a growth period, uncertainty, challenges, or just navigating the messiness of life, remember this: your responsibility is action, not outcome. Behaviors, not outcome. Persistence, not outcome. Remember the freedom that we've been provided. Remember this country today, that the Declaration of Independence was made 7 years before our actual experienced freedom as an outcome. There may be some opposing forces that you're fighting today. No evidence, or the evidence may be contrary to where you want to be. Things that you want freedom from: addiction, anxiety, scarcity, lack, reactions to fear. No matter what the battle or evidence you're facing, remember the 1,000 steps. Let this be the day that you declare your freedom and trust the process. Declare freedom today. Trust in the process. It will give you the power to show up every day in your best self, knowing that understanding will meet you on the other side. Trust the process. Wisdom of faith in uncertainty. The power of trusting the process, the 1,000 steps, embracing uncertainty with faith, learning the predisposition of surrender, applying your why to business, leadership, and life by trusting the process with what you do, say, think, feel, and believe with that intention. And you will make a lot of money, help a lot of people, and have a lot of fun. This has been the Trust in the Process training. If you'd like the guides, the exercises, email me, david@dmeltzer.com. If you want the 25 no rule exercise, david@dmeltzer.com. If you want the 1,000-step trainings and exercises, david@dmeltzer.com. If you want anything, books, guides, and exercises, david@dmeltzer.com. If you want to join us in the over 200 cities we're in, meetups, holding courts, interviews, speeches, VIP dinners, diamond lunches, over 200 cities a year, starting here in San Diego and moving to San Antonio, then Las Vegas, and then Nashville, then Major League Baseball in Atlanta, then LA. That's how you get there. Come and join us in person, on the phone, via email, and of course, every platform, david@dmeltzer.com. Nick of Guam, it's time to have some fun. I'm tired of speaking to people. Let freedom ring, Nick. Let freedom ring, Nick. And let's listen for what people are listening for.
Again, if you are joining us online, go ahead and put your questions into the chat. If you are live here in the Breakfast with Champions on Clubhouse, please use the hand icon to request to join the stage if you are in the audience. Or if you are already on stage this morning and have a question for David, please just put a note in the room chat, and I will be happy to pass it over your way. And for our first question of the day, David, we're going to get started with the lovely Colleen, who is patiently waiting. So Colleen, happy Friday, happy 4th of July. Feel free to kick us off with the first question.
Thank you, guys. Hi, everybody. Happy Friday. I love our Friday warriors in the chat, and what a great training. There were so many little nuggets just from surrender is not giving up. It's giving space to intelligent surrender, to purpose over panic. I think there's a natural resistance that comes up just hearing the word surrender, let alone practicing the actual action. So my question is, I think that just a reconciliation of, can I trust that making space doesn't mean you're losing that progress? What do you think about being able to trust that space within yourself and reconciling not losing all of the traction that you're making, when it comes to that word surrender?
Yeah, it's so interesting because I think it is one of the greatest issues of resistance is this concept of reconciliation of surrender. It's so difficult for people to have a predisposition of surrender, not to have a disposition of surrender. In so many different text shows, movies talk about surrender. In fact, if you read Michael Singer's The Surrender Experiment, there's an inherent conflict when reading it of, when do I surrender? Because it seems like Michael Singer, who built $1 billion business and built his temple of God and all the things that he's been able to do, he seems very ferocious. And I don't think enough people are in the realization of predisposition and, holding that space after you're predisposed to allowing the truth to vibrate the fastest, to allow your ability to be aware of the truth. That's why clarity isn't up front. And so I think the more we practice the 1,000 steps and the more we have certain mantras and rules that allow us to remind, remember, and recollect the fact that a revelation and a resolution is an example of the lapse of time that exists between a problem and a solution. Every single solution is in the problem. We need to find resolutions, resolutions, And there's a lap of time between the problem and the resolution. The solution exists in the problem. And so when we take a predisposition that we don't know what we don't know, we're taking a predisposition and having faith in the process that there's something bigger than us that does know. I'm going to repeat that. We have to have a predisposition of surrender to say that we don't know what we don't know, but we have a omniscient, all-powerful, all-knowing that is guiding us through the lessons that we learn through the lenses of productivity, accessibility, and gratitude. And in order to learn, we have to be very active. We have to be ferocious. And the more we learn, the more we elevate our awareness. The more we elevate our awareness, things become easy. We gain cheat codes, and life dissipates the dis-easy. And we experience outcomes that we never imagined. We experience outcomes better than we anticipated, not worse, if we trust the process. But in order to trust the process, you have to have faith in the resolution, faith in something bigger than you that's protecting, promoting, loving, perfecting you, that knows everything. And so within the course of the human experience, which we're here to learn and to know, the more we know, the higher our awareness, the higher the awareness, the more ease, the less dis-ease, the happier we are, and the more access we have to the omniscient, all-powerful, all-knowing, more than enough of everything for everyone. And so in this journey of 1,000 steps, and remember, you'll be exhausted if you put 1,000 steps into every single thing that you want. It's only for the big things that are going to take time. So yes, there's 1,000 steps between you and getting to the beach. You don't know how long it's going to take, but you're not going to waste your time with the faith in the process. Use things that take weeks, months, years, that you're guiding yourself, the bigger things. You can remember, and recollect 1,000 steps. That'll take you 90% of the effort to get to 250 of those steps. That keeps you on course of the duplication and the doubling effect that occurs in the aggregation and compounding of knowledge, awareness, and the truth. And so in that reconciliation of a predisposition of surrender has faith in what? And so when we say we have faith in what, we have faith in for the sake of what. And when we tie in meaning with faith, now we can say, I am trying to build this blank, this relationship, this business, this outcome for the sake of, for me, making a lot of money so I can help a lot of people and have a lot of fun. Awesome question. By the way, Colleen, happy birthday yesterday to the incredible Super Des. He's 2 years old.
Thank you.
Pretty much pretty much the illustration of a 2-year-old boy. So God bless you running a company and raising a 2-year-old boy. You are a hero. We're going to knit you a cape. Danny Edwards is my official cape and he has knitted many capes for many people. You are Superwoman. We appreciate you. Congratulations.
It's an honor. Thank you.
Hey, right on.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Colleen, for the incredible first question of the day. Now, as we keep this train rocking and rolling, we got the Meltzer double up next. Of course, I'm talking about Eric Meltzer, no family affiliation, but it is all love with Mr. Meltzer, or both Meltzers here. Eric, it is great to see you, my friend. Happy Friday. Happy 4th to you. Feel free to continue on with the next question.
Sweet. Thanks so much, Nick. Thank you, Dave. So the question I have is what is some self-talk, like mantras, self-talk that we can use repeatedly to help us reinforce in our minds to trust the process?
Yeah, I mean, I think, you choose the ones that mean the most to you in those mantras. For me, the 1,000 steps, which I'll make available to everyone, just a reminder of 1,000 steps, but also whenever doubt or reaction to fear occurs, the process. Somebody asked me yesterday at the meetup here in San Diego, they asked, people like the 3 steps, and in the context of, what were the 3 things that you would do? For me, it's understanding the power of stopping. when things are in dis-ease, we have a tendency to want to move quickly. My CEO, Michael, he is so fast in everything that he does. And the more chaotic things get, he has 3 kids, he's married, he is CEO of our accelerated company. And when things get more chaotic, he speeds up. And I have to stop him. I have to get him to just stop. And so the first thing I want you to do, Eric, is stop. When things start moving faster, use the counterintuitive approach of stopping. It's a predisposition of surrender. And then dropping is the second tool. Breathing, dropping down to center, getting your baseline, getting at ease, and then rolling back into the divine direction, your trajectory, your pursuit of your potential, not reacting quickly. Just stop, breathe, drop, and roll into where you want to be or better. So for me, beyond any mantras of 1,000 steps or any reminders of holding space or whatever things, you want to say to yourself, I would encourage you to use the 3 most powerful tools, the 3 most powerful steps to success. Stopping, dropping, and rolling. When your mind and body and soul are on fire, Eric, stop, drop, and roll. Does that sound fair?
Totally fair. No, thank you. You've given me a lot to think about. Thank you so much, Dave.
Thank you, my brother. Appreciate you showing up on 4th of July. Let freedom ring. Remember that freedom is a declaration to trust the process, just as indicated in the 7 years it took and the trust the process that it took to actually be free compared to the Declaration of Independence. It took us 7 years. All right, Nick, who's up next, my brother?
Yes, sir. We're going to keep this train rocking and rolling, and I see him there on stage, and I know he has a question. I'm talking about Brent Nichols. Brent, it is great to see you, my friend. It's been a little while since we've seen you in person, so we got to make sure to invite but not obligate you for the next time that we are in the city. But in the meantime, my friend, feel free to unmute yourself and carry us on with the next question.
Oh, man. Happy 4th of July. I love you guys. I love you guys so much. Like all these lessons, all these little tidbits, everything, it's really what keeps everyone going. So what Eric said before is like what self-talk in your head to keep on going. It's just, there's so many people out there that have a community like this. So thank you. Thank you. Like seriously, I have no question other than thank you so much. And just let's expand on what Eric's question. What do we still continue to keep? How do we keep going? Like what is it? Where are we going? And how do we get there? I mean, that's it, dude. And I love you. Thank you.
I love you too, and I always appreciate anyone acknowledging the work that our team does every day, 7 days a week, because that's how we work. We believe in the exponentiality. I think you mentioned 2 things that we can expand upon with what Eric said and what you are motivated and inspired by. One is, one of my favorite things to look at is voices, because voices create clues and clues create patterns and patterns create choices. And if we have the wrong voices, we have the wrong clues, the wrong patterns, and the wrong choices. And so when we are listening to voices of what we want, not what other people want, what's missing, what we don't have, when we are listening to wrong voices equals wrong choices. And so if we can elevate our awareness to the voices, the clues, the patterns, and the choices that are disseminated and delineated from the voices that we listen to. And one of the things we can ask ourselves as we are fighting and struggling to have faith, to remind, remember, and recollect something bigger than us, that's protecting, promoting, love, and perfecting us more than our moms. We can just ask ourselves, for the sake of what am I doing this? I talked about yesterday at the meetup the Michael Jordan rule. And I've been using the Michael Jordan rule when I wake up on the 4th of July and ask myself, for the sake of what am I doing Free Friday trainings for almost 28 years, no matter what, without missing a week. Sometimes Friday trainings are on Thursday, every very small, once in a while they're on Wednesdays, but I've never missed a week. Coming on 28 years in October. But as I woke up this morning, for the sake of what do I do it? I answer that calling with the Michael Jordan rule to test to see if I'm bullshitting myself for the sake of what? And I said to myself, Michael Jordan's going to be on this training today. All of a sudden, I had no desire to miss. No desire to hang out with my family, look over the Mission Bay and the peace and tranquility and the beauty that I get to experience. I had no desire because Michael Jordan's on this training. That Michael Jordan rule allows me to equate for the sake of what? So if I'm going to show up to training for the sake of Michael Jordan being on here, then I certainly am going to show up even if he's not. I'm going to work out for the sake of Michael Jordan being my workout partner. I'm going to show up to working out. If I'd show up to go drive to help somebody for the sake that Michael Jordan's helping as well, then I'm going to go and show up no matter what. If it's worth it if Michael Jordan's with me, then it's worth it when he's not with me. And to be able to apply the Michael Jordan rule. I also apply it to other people to evaluate their priorities so that they're not bullshitting me. Oh, I can't come down to the meetup. You know, we had 30 people show up on July 3rd to a meetup at 1:30 p.m. I was so inspired. We had world champion jiu-jitsu fighters. We had billionaires. We had millionaires, entrepreneurs, celebrities, and athletes all showing up. They had prioritized the community of being of service and of value to each other. And I said to myself, for all the other people that told me, well, it's July 3rd and it's a long drive. People flew in from New York. People drove down from LA, which was much longer and harder than flying in from New York. There's so many things for the sake of what? But I used the Michael Jordan rule. Because anybody that told me, hey, I'll come to the next one, I can't make it. I said, oh, that's too bad because Michael Jordan's going to be there. Really? If Michael Jordan makes you move and change your mind, then you should be doing it anyway. Ask yourself for the sake of what? If it's for the sake of Michael Jordan being there, then it should be for the sake of you being there as well, regardless of Michael Jordan. I love that rule that I put in. If you don't like Michael Jordan, then use somebody that you actually admire. Sorry, I forgot to say that part too. So, if you're a Larry Bird fan, a Magic Johnson fan, a LeBron James fan, or a Wayne Dyer fan, or a Jesus Christ fan, just say Jesus Christ is going to be there. And so I'm going to show up for the sake of what is an equitable solution and resolution of where you want to be or better, or where you should be or better. Remember, remind, and recollect that. All right, Nick of Guam, we are in the fourth quarter, about 11 minutes, which is my lucky number. That's 111. Remember, January 11th at 1:11, I was born, and it's a sign to me, a calling to me to be where I want to be, or better. Nick of Guam, I like to be with you. I do want to remind everyone, by the way, that if you want any of the exercises, the 1,000 rules, the 25 no rule, my book, the guide here, Trusting the Process Training, Freedom for All, in Trusting the Process, please email me, david@dmeltzer.com, david@dmeltzer.com. Nick of Guam, Well-Oiled Machine, why don't you tell people about the Well-Oiled Machine podcast as it's taking off, believe it or not. As quirky as it is, people seem to dig it. It's very niche, but it's super fun, and you're amazing on it. Being the Nick of Guam, a Well-Oiled Machine. Tell them about the podcast, and let's take the next question.
Absolutely. And I got to give a little bit of a shout out to Paul Logan in our community, Dave. He goes in the chat. He said, it's the Stallone rule for me. So yeah. I like taking it and making it his own. Now, with the Well-Oiled Machine podcast, ladies and gentlemen, please tune in on Tuesdays. We're getting 10 in the can by just doing them live here across all platforms. And it's really where David and I take some time. We pick a day in our calendar and we go through all the subtleties of success in terms of how we manage time, of course, on our travels of over 200 cities every single year. We go through and study what we have planned, what we don't have planned in our sleep, and really showcase how we can maximize our productivity, accessibility, and our gratitude. So please come and join us on Tuesdays. This upcoming Tuesday will be episode 7 on our road to getting the first 10 in the can, and then we'll be posting them everywhere. But with that said, let's carry on. We got about 9 minutes left here in the fourth quarter. Our next question is going to come from your 2 favorite letters in the alphabet. We got GG Gigi here live on Clubhouse. Gigi, thank you so much for being here and for all your help with all of these trainings. With that said, please carry us on with the next question. The mic is yours.
Hello. So I think this training is so timely, especially this week for me, like trusting the process and working with you, and you're pushing me. And sometimes I get angry, frustrated because I'm still
Yeah, she calls me a dick behind my back.
things that click into place. So now I'm starting to get it, and I will still get frustrated. But I'm like, how can I ease that? And also when things are chaotic, I'm like all over the place. So how can I just stop and breathe, basically? Thank you again.
You're welcome. So, it's so interesting because the simple things to do are simple not to do. And saying thank you is the simplest thing to do. And it will change and impact your life exponentially. It's free. It takes 0.1 seconds. I teach gratitude more than anything else because it allows us to find the light, the love, and the lesson. And so for me, gratitude is so simple, but I have to remind myself that the simple things to do are simple not to do. To the respect of gratitude, everybody here is shaking their head in my green room and outside my green room when I say thank you is the easiest and fastest way to change your life. By tonight, most of the people shaking their head won't say thank you. By tomorrow morning, most of them that are left won't say thank you. And within 3 days, and everyone's shaking their head because they know within 3 days, almost all of us won't be saying thank you before we go to bed and when we wake up. I want to ask all the people that are around me, all the hundreds of thousands that are registered for the training, the newsletter, the thousands that are in the group, the 100 one-on-one, and the very few selected corporate clients that I have. How many of you said thank you last night? Like, honestly, you're here. Ask yourself, how many said thank you before they went to bed? Well, the simple things to do are simple not to do. Stopping is not easy, but it's simple. It's very simple to say the best action that you can take when you're creating interference in your life, when things are chaotic, moving too quickly, in a predisposition of surrender, is to stop. That's an action. Agree? Is an action like saying thank you. But let's be honest, the simple things to do are simple not to do. It's so simple to teach you. Anytime your mind, body, or soul is on fire, define it with whatever meaning you want. But when your mind, body, and soul are on fire, stop first. That's like saying thank you at night. Very simple. So I think the easiest thing, is to stop and tell yourself the simple things to do are simple not to do. And I'm going to double down on the simple things to create 90% of the results that I want or better. And so whether it's, the 1,000-step rule, whether it's the Stallone rule, whether it's the 25 no rule, whether it's the 3 no rule, whether it's the open question and suggestion guide, it doesn't matter if you don't do it. And I've tried my best through the complexities and awareness of the quantum to be able to facilitate an articulation of a simple way to get you to where you want to be or better in an accelerated, aggregated, and compound manner. And so the rule behind the rule is the simple things to do are simple not to do. So double down on the simple things, like saying thank you, stopping, or any other of the frameworks that we've created through the values, the daily practices, or the execution model. And I'm happy to give all of this for you. It's free. David@dmeltzer.com. You know how simple it is to email me, but the simple things are simple not to do. So remind yourself, double down on the simple. The universe loves simple because it is simple, because it's at ease. It's at ease because we've disappeared, and diminished the dis-ease, which elevates our awareness. It gives us more cheat codes that makes things easier, not dis-easier. David@dmeltzer.com. Come on, everybody. Double down on the simple things. Email me simply at david@dmeltzer.com. I'll be happy to send that to you. Let's go, Nick of Guam, my well-oiled machine. We got 4 minutos remaining. Let freedom reign today and trust the process.
Absolutely. And I want to make sure, I know we have time for at least one more question. I want to make sure we show some love to the chat. So I'm going to take a question from Marianne, who posted it online. She said, risk tolerance level. Can you speak into this? I feel like in surrender, this grew for me.
Wow. it is a predispositioned surrendering. And so as we surrender, we are actually acknowledging, recognizing, recollecting, and remembering the timing, right? Trust the process involves time and risk tolerance. So within the context of time, as we promote activities and actions in order to facilitate, to make easy the pursuit of our potential, not only do we trust the process by analyzing time, which is facilitated by the 1,000-step rule and all these other things I'm going to send you at david@dmeltzer.com. David is my first name. D is my first initial. Meltzer means waiter or servant.com. David@dmeltzer.com. Beloved servant, go ahead, email this to get the facilitation. But within the context of trusting the process and letting freedom reign, the 7 years after the Declaration of Independence, actually independence occurred, is a risk tolerance. Now, when they declared freedom on July 4th, 1776, they understood the risk of their kids dying, the risk of an oppressed life beyond what they had at the time. They understood the timing because they weren't going to quit and the risk that they may die or be under a stronger hold. They understood that. So it's not an accident that you feel like that the risk tolerance issue grew when we talked about surrender, because surrendering, the predisposition of surrendering is trusting the process. And in order to trust the process, you have to do a risk assessment, because remember, if you know your timing and your risk tolerance, you will never be resentful and guilty. You will never doubt or quit. You may be disappointed along the way. You may be disappointed, but you will never resent it or feel guilty or quit. You will never. Timing and risk tolerance are brothers and sisters within the process that we trust by guiding us with something bigger than us that knows everything. Hyper intelligence, a more than enough intelligence, a more than enough intuition, a more than enough inspiration, a more than enough of everything for everyone that protects us, promotes us, loves and perfects us, even though we don't see it. And so we take a predisposition to analyze the timing and risk tolerance in order to effectuate the 5 daily practices to guide us with behaviors that are aligned with where we want to be or better, defining the behaviors. Good behaviors are aligned with where we want to be. Bad behaviors interfere with it. We want to maximize the good behaviors, utilizing all these different things that I'm going to send you at david@dmeltzer.com, and dissipate, diminish, and disappear the bad behaviors. And the more that we do that, the more that we spend only minutes and moments interfering with that unbelievable source, we become greater resources. This is why we have to trust the process. Why we have to allow freedom to reign. Let freedom reign today. Let it reign in every aspect of your life. Let you create that patience and persistence in the consistent pursuit of your potential. Let freedom reign. Trust the process. Anybody that wants anything, email me, david@dmeltzer.com. Nick of Wam, it is time to go celebrate the 4th of July. Let freedom reign in your life, of freedom from addiction, freedom from interference, freedom from anything that you want to dissipate, dissolve, and disappear. Let freedom reign. God bless you. God bless America. God bless our team. Thank you, everyone. Nick of Wam, close out the room, por favor.
Absolutely. And thank you, David, for another incredible Friday training this week for over 26 years, every single week without missing a week, especially, and most importantly, even on holidays. What a great way to celebrate by bringing everybody together. So thank you, David. And for everybody that joined us for today's training, whether you want the guide and exercise from today's training or any of the other guides and exercises that David mentioned, whether you want a copy of his book, which he's happy to send you a copy, sign a copy, and even pay for shipping. It's just David at D. Meltzer, folks. Now, of course, we want to invite but not obligate you to come and join us in person. Next week, we have San Antonio for the Aspire Business Tour with Damon John, David Goggins, and so many more. Las Vegas for the NBA Summer League with Trevor Ariza and Greg Oden, and even an after party at Marshall Falk's Penthouse. Then we have Nashville for the Firewalk with Bucky O'Neill, Atlanta, Georgia for the MLB All-Star Game, and the Home Run Derby with all the stars. And then, of course, coming back to Los Angeles, California at SiriusXM Studios for our Content Mastermind. That is how you get to over 200 cities a year, people. And make sure, if you want to join us in person, to join the text community so you get the reminders on where we're going to be. And that's just 949-298-2905. Happy 4th of July to everybody. Celebrate everything celebratable, especially our independence and our freedom. We will see you this upcoming Monday back live for an Ask Me Anything with David. But in the meantime, continue to be more interested than interesting and be kind to your future self and do good deeds. Peace and love. Hit it, Gigi.
Welcome to Office Hours, hosted by legendary sports executive, entrepreneur, and investor David Meltzer, where the brightest entrepreneurial minds in business, sports, and entertainment get together to talk about success, failure, and everything in between.
I have no self-worth tied up in Gary Vee or Gary Vaynerchuk, the entrepreneur. My self-worth is fully and utterly 100% attached to how I treat human beings.
And I think love is the answer to everything as well. Love and compassion and justice and fairness, and which are all aspects of love.
The most important question anybody can ask is, what would I do and love every day, even if I were failing?
Take a deep dive into the mind of some of the world's most impactful guests.
And the reality is, life here on Earth is very short compared to eternity, and we don't spend a lot of time thinking about eternity and what that looks like.
People get new computers, they get the new iPhones, they upgrade their apps. But when's the last time we upgraded, the technology that's created all of these things?
So I always challenge my audience and people I talk to about, sometimes is there a door in your life you have to close for other doors to open?
To share their strategies and tools to dominate their respective fields.
When we repeat anything, whether it's a constructive good pattern or a destructive bad pattern, our brain reinforces it just like a muscle.
All a belief is a story that you've said over and over again. Maybe you caught it from someone else or you had a specific experience.
Know who you are, know what you want, and make adjustments trying to get there.
David Meltzer hosts Office Hours.